Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about dopamine, what it is, and why it's becoming a big problem. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter in our brains that is involved in a lot of pleasurable activities that we engage in. So, whether it's eating, playing video games, social interaction, you pretty much name any pleasurable activity is going to release some amount of dopamine. So why do we seek dopamine? Well, we seek pleasure because it helps us to survive. If we didn't do certain things like eating and procreating, then we would not survive. We would just simply die out and cease to exist. So it's really important. But the problem is that if we don't do it in moderation, we run the risk of addiction. The reason that more and more people are becoming addicted to dopamine is that we live in a relatively safe and peaceful society so that our survival is not in jeopardy. Therefore, with all of this dopamine readily available, we can just consume and consume without repercussions other than the overconsumption of those activities or substances. So not only do we have to deal with how pleasurable those things are and the cravings that will ensue after doing them, we also have advertisements, social media, even entire campaigns that promote the excess consumption of dopamine and minimize any negative effects, which creates an even bigger problem. A good example of this would be overeating or indulging in unhealthy foods. So there are tons and tons of advertisements of candy and sweets and really unhealthy foods that bombard us daily, whether you're watching television or spending time on social media. And then you also have the campaign of body positivity and to the point of promoting obesity sometimes and saying that that's not a problem and that it's okay to overconsume, and that can really cause a negative reinforcement loop for a person and a lot of problems. Another great example would be video games. And this is where people will play hours and hours and hours every day. And not only are they being advertised to, again, through TV and social media, but they're also seeing campaigns of through social media, people encouraging others to play more and more and to become better at video games. And of course, it's fine to be good at something, but to overdo something is a major problem, which can lead to carpal tunnel, lack of social skills, etc., etc., for serious gamers. So what can we do? I think the main thing is that we need to practice what's called a dopamine detox, and that is where we slowly or altogether eliminate high dopamine activities from our repertoire or daily schedule. So, for example, if your main dopamine activity is junk food, you're going to want to eliminate those altogether or drastically decrease your consumption of junk food so that you can give your brain the ability to reset. What we see is that when people take breaks from high dopamine activities, it allows their brain to re-regulate and for them to enjoy lower dopamine activities afterwards and get more fulfillment from them, such as reading, watching television that's not overly addictive, learning, social interaction. All these great things for us that are low dopamine, so not as pleasurable as those high dopamine activities, but are very enriching for us. One of the best parts of a dopamine detox is that you will see that your loved ones really take notice. They'll be very happy that you're spending more time with them and more present. And you will see on your end less cravings, more peace and joy and fulfillment within your life. And most importantly, you'll see a sense of freedom coming back into your life where you have the power of control in the decision of activities that you engage in or substances or foods that you enjoy, rather than those things having power over you and you feeling like you don't have a choice. And lastly, I think it's important to note that this dopamine detox, while a relatively new idea or phenomenon, is something that can be found even as far back as the Bible, which is just mind-blowing and so interesting. The Bible talks about denying your flesh, which is comparable to reducing dopamine intake, and feeding your spirit, which are things that are less pleasurable. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. I hope it was informative, helpful, and that it helps to make a difference in your life or your loved ones. Until next time, thank you so much and take care.